Welcome back to Indigo Smokes, Tarot and Astrology. This is an astrology interpretation video. I am focusing on natal moon in Gemini. Your moon sign is your soul, your soul needs, what you need at your core, who you are at your core, the energy that you incarnate into this life with. So that means that you have been your moon sign long before you're anything else in your chart. This is who you were as a child. This is who you were born as. This is your relationship with your mother. This is the general theme of your childhood environment. Maybe traits that you've seen in your mother, even if she's not the actual sign, she may have shown these traits, or your nurturing parent did. Your moon sign is your deepest instincts, urges, desires, needs, your emotions, who you are in private. Your moon sign is the side of you that people who know you on a deep, intimate level, this is the energy that they get to see. This is the energy you probably carry with you from a past life. Like I said, you've always been your moon sign. You may resonate more with your moon sign. They say that you act more like your moon sign energy, or identify with your moon sign energy sometimes more than your sun sign, because your sun sign is kind of who you are, the traits and qualities you're learning and evolving into. But your moon sign is your unconscious, it's your subconscious, it's who you are without trying. So that's the significance of the moon in your birth chart. Now, Gemini is a masculine sign. It's an air sign. It is ruled by Mercury, and it is mutable. Okay, so it's very changeable, versatile. Moon in Gemini, very inquisitive. Okay, very, very, very inquisitive. Good conversationalist, communicative, talkative as fuck. Oftentimes, unless there's other things in the chart, certain aspects of maybe Saturn, Pluto, that make you more private, or if you have a lot of Cancer energy, a lot of water energy, it can make someone more reclusive. But generally, Moon in Gemini is super chatty and talkative, very intelligent and witty, social butterfly quite often, very charming, a very, very much a people person, versatile, adaptable. Once again, they're natural chameleons. They can adapt to pretty much any environment that they're in. They're very easily bored, easily distracted. I will say Moon and Gemini, they probably have a quest for knowledge, a quest for information, although their knowledge may show more, their knowledge base may be more about width as opposed to depth. They do, and air signs, they kind of tend to keep things surface level. In a lot of instances, a love of learning, reading, writing. They need stimulation, they need variety, they need flexibility, they need freedom. Okay, they have free-spirited or nomadic tendencies. They love anything new, try anything once. They're typically multitaskers, even if they're not good at it. They just have a tendency to do multiple things at once. They are natural busybodies. They have lots of nervous, anxious, restless energy, which is why they're always on the go, why they're always doing something. They like the stimulation. I would say Moon in Gemini is the eternal child, very youthful, very much Peter Pan type energy. They can be very scatterbrained, forgetful. Sometimes they can be accused of not having any follow through, because they like to start things, but they can get bored, once again, very easily. They like to share what they know. They like to share information. They like to share knowledge. Their mind never stops, so they can definitely be prone to having insomnia. The shadow expression of Moon in Gemini would be they can't hold water. Okay, gossip prone or verbal diarrhea. They can just talk when they're uncomfortable, or when they're trying to avoid certain things. They can be very chatty as a defense mechanism. They can appear to others as being very fickle, or very two-faced, or unreliable, or once again superficial. Not really good at keeping secrets, keeping things to themselves. Sometimes that verbal diarrhea from a Moon in Gemini, it can come out even with strangers. They can tell their whole life story to someone who they don't even know, because talking is therapeutic for them. They're typically not super secretive people, once again, unless there's other things in their chart that indicate that. Their first instinct is to share, is to talk, is to communicate. They have to learn discretion. They have to learn tact. They talk with their hands. I'm a Gemini rising, so I can see why that would, how that would apply. I naturally talk with my hands even when I'm trying not to. Moon and Geminis, they can be accused of lacking emotional depth or awareness, once again, which is something that they have to work on, because Moon and Gemini, they have a tendency to intellectualize their emotions or verbalize their emotions, but not actually feeling them and working through them. So that's something that throughout their life they have to work on in order to be more well-rounded and evolved versions of themselves. They're very good with words. Typically they're good with numbers too. They can be good at double talk. They can be good at lying. They can be good at, being very persuasive. Moon and Gemini is naturally flirtatious, childlike again, very charming, good humor, entertaining. Some of them could have been the class clown. They are the ultimate example of jack of all trades, master of none. Once again, their knowledge can show more width than depth. They know a little bit about everything. They know how to influence the conversation or subject the way that they want it, so they know how to avoid getting too attached or too deep in conversation about things that make them uncomfortable. They may be ambidextrous. I hope I'm saying that right. They have a lot of mental dexterity. They can be definitely like pranksters or tricksters, very good at like practical jokes. They're good at defining and compartmentalizing things and their emotions, but once again, when it comes to the feeling part, that may not be their forte oftentimes. They are going to avoid or run away from anything that's confining, anything that they feel like is anyone they feel like is clingy. They're going to avoid messy, deep emotional experiences and attachments. They can be very objective, very rational, very detached. They can be quick to move on when they're bored or when they're too emotionally stimulated. They have to, I think I already said this, they have to incorporate emotional intelligence, experience, and awareness into their repertoire in order to become more well-rounded. Accounting, commerce, communications, barter, retail, trade, technology may be interests or skills of theirs. They have a love of gadgets. They like for their hands to be busy, typically at all times. So phones, books, writing, cards, anything they can do with their hands, it helps them to get rid of that, or to channel that nervous or anxious or restless energy that they have. But Gemini rules the hands, I believe. So, or Gemini Mercury energy rules the hands, the arms, all of that. So it's natural for them to do exactly what I'm doing right now. They like anything shiny, anything new, especially gadgets. They love exchanging ideas, commodities, information, all of that great stuff. Talking and flirting is much like a sport for them. They are typically quick learners. They like to show off their intelligence and their know-how and how interesting they are. They can have, I find once again, Gemini is twins, so their moods are changeable, their personalities are changeable. Once again, they're natural chameleons, but that moodiness can show itself in their demeanor, in the sense of, sometimes they can come off very bubbly or fun, and then other times they can come off very cool or detached or unfocused. This is the nature of the twins, so it could go either way or fluctuate constantly. I would say Moon and Geminis, they're very interesting just because they're hard to figure out and pin down for a lot of people, especially if you don't know that they are, or that they have Gemini energy. Moon and Gemini, they hate/fear boredom, monotony, stagnation, feeling trapped or confined. Routine is just like They're always seeking novelty, adventure, travel, knowledge. They can have a serious case of FOMO, fear of missing out. They're naturally anxious and restless. They have very sensitive nervous systems. They may equate closeness, especially romantic closeness, romantic relationship. They may associate that with being confined or bound or limited, which goes against their instinctive need for freedom and autonomy. So stereotypically, people would say that Moon and Geminis would be commitment phobic. In some instances that can be true. They just need a partner that's going to complement who they naturally are. So it could also be said that Moon and Gemini, they're looking for their other half, in so to speak. Maybe they're yang and they're looking for their yin. They just need someone. As far as a partner, they need someone they can bounce their ideas off of, someone they can still be fun with and be intellectually stimulated by. Someone who will travel with them, joke with them, exchange ideas with them, someone who will expand their horizons, someone they can be childlike with, but they also need someone who may be a bit more mature or evolved than them to bring them up. Very engaging and kind, but they tend to keep people at arm's length, so they can be known for having a lot of acquaintances and associates, but not many close, deep, or serious relationships or friendships. They typically like to keep things casual. Some Moon and Gemini dominant people, they may feel like they have to try to be more interesting or smart than they already are. They have a fear of maybe being disappointing or boring to be around. They shy away from vulnerability, and like most air signs, they can be very indecisive as well. Let's see what else did I put here. I would say journaling, writing, talking, painting, playing an instrument can be a form of therapy for them. Once again, anything that gets their minds, their hands going can be cathartic for them. Their mouth too. So anything that gets their minds, their mouth, or their hands moving can probably be a form of therapy or an outlet for them. They, at some point in their life, they may either have a desire to, or they may actually follow through with sharing their knowledge or their experiences via writing a book, starting a workshop, podcast, something along those lines. They're kind of oxymoronic in the sense of they want their freedom and their autonomy, but they don't like to be alone. So there's another of the twins, the flip-flop that they can have. They have to cultivate independence while still allowing themselves to feel and to be emotionally attached and to be close to other people. They have to find that balance. Most of them, they would probably love to travel. They want to see the world. They want to experience almost everything that life has to offer. They can be very optimistic, very open-minded. I don't know a lot of Geminis, but Geminis aren't the sign that's really known to be super judgmental. So if you know a Gemini and they're either too logical, too rational, or they have some other stuff in their chart. Moon and Gemini, they can be very messy. They can be disorganized, scatterbrained. Find it hard to focus on one thing for too long, whether it's a subject, a person, a situation, a goal, etc. I feel like these are the people that would be naturally inclined to be nomads or free spirits. They like to be on the go. Day-to-day routine is just not, that's not their preference most of the time. They do everything fast. Walk fast, talk fast. Everything is done fast. It can give a lot of people around them whiplash. I would say they're good with their hands. Somehow. They're just very crafty. They can, once again, be tricksters, very playful. Sometimes that trickster energy can show up in its shadow side of being very clever, very cunning, double talk, lying, that kind of thing. Their ideal counterpart must stimulate their mind. They have to be fun. Their counterpart has to be open-minded and communicative. Moon and Gemini typically cannot be with someone who does not express themselves verbally. They need their partner to respect their freedom and be willing to listen to them and exchange ideas with them and opinions with them. They need a partner that's going to be open to adventure and travel and new things. Their partner should be more grounded or stable than them, in my personal opinion, but not so much that they're a stick in the mud or that they bring the Gemini, moon and Gemini down. This is where that Sagittarius polarity may come into play, because Sagittarius is more faith-based, it's philosophical, it's spiritual, it's wise, and that energy can be very complementary to moon and Gemini. So they need these traits within their ideal counterpart, partner, etc. Moon and Gemini, they're typically good storytellers because they're very animated. They're very young at heart, very childlike. So that would probably make them very good working with children, being around children, having fun with children, because they're a big kid themselves quite often. Moon and Gemini may have a tendency to overthink, overanalyze, get stuck in their head, feeding into their whole anxious, nervous, restlessness, insomniac tendencies. They can easily think themselves in a circle, think themselves out of their decisions. They understand their emotions, or they understand emotions on an intellectual level, but life kind of has to teach them experiential understanding of emotions and dealing with them accordingly and in a hands-on way. I think I already said this with the multitasking, but they're prone to doing multiple things at once, like watching TV and reading a book, or listening to music and reading a book, or studying while listening to music, or being on the internet while the TV is on, or while they're listening to music, or any combination of the above. They don't really like to sit in silence for too long. Even if they don't mind it, they typically don't do it very often. Very imaginative, especially as children. Unless they had some sort of attention or learning disorder, they were likely pretty good students. Yeah. And in a minute, we're going to get to the mother. I think I said a little bit of this earlier, but they may use jokes or talking as a defense mechanism when they're uncomfortable, or as a way of avoiding certain things, certain topics, certain people. They prefer to go with the flow. They don't like anything set. They're changeable, so they like for things to be open to change. They express and they neutralize their emotions by talking through everything. It's like it helps them to relieve the internal pressure of dealing with the emotion. So talking helps with relieving that internal pressure. Yeah, because they typically don't know what to do with their emotions, so their instinct is just to intellectualize and verbalize. They can be very quirky or attracted to quirky things, quirky people. How they feel or act just depends on the moment and other variables. It rarely has anything to do with the person or situation that they're involved in. It's just they're the twins. Sometimes you just don't know what you're gonna get with Gemini dominant or moon in Gemini people. And sometimes they can actually be forgetful or unaware that the last time you seen them they acted a totally different way. So they may or may not be aware of that difference within themselves from interaction to interaction. Let me see. They're least likely to be secretive. They're least likely to brood. They're least likely to hold grudges. Once they get something off their chest, it's normally out of their mind and they're on to the next thing. What else? They could have learned to read, write, speak very early on in their childhood. Could have been avid learners, avid readers, very inquisitive, ask a lot of questions. They could have viewed books or fictional characters as their friends or their teachers in their own way. They also could have been, on the flip side, they could have been very restless or bored at school due to the monotony of it. Or maybe they were just very chatty or inattentive. Once again, easily distracted is definitely a moon in Gemini trait. On the flip side, they actually could have been shy early on, due to lacking a certain level of confidence within themselves. In some instances, the moon in Gemini, they could have felt, if they didn't have that, if they weren't naturally inclined or encouraged to read, write, speak early on, they could have felt intellectually inferior or had a fear of public speaking or asking questions, which could have sometimes carried into them being teenagers or into adulthood. Let me see, what else did I put here? Oh, of course, with the twins, sometimes this can be literal, and the moon in Gemini could have either been a twin or could have come from a family or a bloodline of twin births. Random fun fact, moon in Gemini may be inclined to use their words as weapons. They're typically sponges for learning information and knowledge. In the cases of their repressed emotions can show as, once again, anxiety, hyperactivity, stomach issues, silence, chest tightness, hyperventilation, and insomnia, just to name a few things. Now getting on to the mother. Okay, so the mom could have been seen as being very energetic, very funny, very youthful, very lighthearted, very mentally driven, lots of intellectual stimulation in the mother-child dynamic in lots of instances. Mother could have been an avid reader, avid learner, could have been a teacher in some cases, very curious, observant, moody herself, hard to pin down. The mom could have also been very indecisive, very scatterbrained, but ultimately very social, very communicative, very chatty, childlike in her own way. The mother could have seemed more like a peer than a mom, more like a sister, a big sister, than a maternal figure in some instances. Moon and Gemini mother could have also been seen as very approachable and flexible to the needs of the child, very much a busybody. The mother could have been very involved or active with her own siblings as well. The moon in Gemini child could have or may have seen the mother or the nurturing parent as being very smart or good teachers, once again, sometimes literally. Either way, the mother could have been very influential as far as their education, especially if they started learning, reading, writing, speaking early. The mother most likely very much encouraged that within the child. What else? The shadow aspect of moon in Gemini, the mother could have been very restless, very anxious, very moody, very scatterbrained, always busy, always on the go, emotionally unaware, inattentive, or sometimes even emotionally immature. Short attention span. The mother could have been seen as shallow or fickle, unreliable, erratic, unpredictable, unavailable somehow, whether that's physically, emotionally, etc. The mother could have been non-committal herself, whether that's to people, to jobs, to routines, anything along those lines. The mother could have been indecisive herself in a lot of instances. The mother also could have had a double life of some sort. Maybe the mother didn't have like a set daily routine. The mother could have also lacked focus, could have been too rational or maybe even pessimistic, maybe not really good at domestic life, like chores, 9 to 5, being a homemaker. That probably wasn't her forte in either her shadow or high vibrational expression. Gemini energy typically isn't really focused on domestic matters or day-to-day life anyway. In a lot of instances, there's an exception to everything, but ultimately the mother could have been experienced or seen as erratic, unpredictable, immature, etc. Other than that, I feel like I covered everything. Is there anything else? Moon and Gemini, they may be prone to like collecting, books and journals and audio tapes or listening to podcasts or anything along those lines. Yeah, I think that's it. So I hope that this resonated. I hope that it made sense. I hope that it was helpful to you in some way, shape, or form. Let me know what you think. If I left anything out or missed anything, feel free to put that in the comments. If you like this video, please like, share, subscribe, etc. And I will see you sooner rather than later in my next video. Thank you so much for watching, and bye.